Hey folks, Jordan with the Young Turks, TYT Politics. I am here in Ohio in a coffee shop. I hope you could hear me, you could see me. Let me know in the comments so I know I could keep going here. Crazy Monday so far. If you watched my report about an hour or two ago, Paul Manafort, who was campaign chair for President Trump, or candidate Trump at the time, has resigned. Sorry, not great sleep. Has been indicted, not resigned. And there's been a lot of moving parts with that. And now we have Tony Podesta, the brother of campaign chairman John Podesta for Hillary Clinton. So John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman. His brother, Tony Podesta, was in charge and founder of the Podestra Group, which is a lobbying firm. Now, Tony Podesta, after the Podesta firm has been investigated as part of Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller's Russia and collusion investigation, Tony Podesta has now resigned from the Podestra Group, which could be. I don't think it's coincidental that he's resigning on this day, as Paul Manafort has been indicted. So let me tell you. Read you the story and then give you my thoughts. Give me 1 second so I could tweet out this link. I'm always doing 17 things at once. Emma is off today. So, Tony Podesta, founder of the Podestra Group, brother of John Podesta. Democratic power lobbyist Tony Podesta, founder of the Podestra Group, is stepping down from the firm that bears his name after coming under investigation by Special Counselor Robert Mueller. Podesta announced his decision during a firm-wide meeting Monday morning and is alerting clients of his impending departure. Podesta is handing over full operational and financial control to longtime firm CEO Kimberly Fritz. Tony was very, quote, Tony was very magnanimous and said, quote, "This is an amazing group of people," a source said of Podesta's remarks. Podesta also told staff, quote, he doesn't intend to go quietly or learn how to play golf. He said he, quote, needs to fight this as an individual, but doesn't want the firm to fight it. That is very, very important. Quote, he needs to fight this as an individual, but doesn't want the firm to fight it. Now let me explain to you what exactly he thinks he's going to be fighting, that he is trying to shield the Podesta Group for. So, Podesta's decision to leave the firm came on the same day that former Donald Trump campaign aides, it says aides, but campaign manager Paul Manafort and Rick Gates were indicted on multiple charges, including money laundering, operating as federal agents of the Ukrainian government, failing to disclose overseas bank accounts, and making false statements to federal authorities. Trump campaign foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos, might be mispronouncing that, pleaded guilty earlier this month for lying to the FBI about his contacts with Russian officials, according to court records. The investigation into Podesta and his firm grew out of investigation's examination of Manafort's finances. Manafort organized a public relations campaign on behalf of a nonprofit called the European Center for a Modern Ukraine. That's important. Podestra Group was one of several firms that were paid to do work on the PR campaign to promote Ukraine in the U.S. Podestra Group filed paperwork with the Justice Department in April stating that it had done work for the European Center for a Modern Ukraine that also benefited the same political party that Manafort once advised. Podestra Group said at the time it believed its client was a European think tank untethered to a political party. So that is the connection between Tony Podesta, the Podestra Group, and Paul Manafort. I'll read it to you one more time. Podestra Group filed paperwork with the Justice Department in April stating that it had done work for the European Center for a Modern Ukraine that also benefited the same Ukrainian political party that Manafort once advised. Podestra Group said at the time it believed its client was a European think tank untethered to a political party. Podesta has long been a larger-than-life figure on K Street, growing his business from a boutique firm into a massive lobbying and public relations operation. So let me tell you what I think. Number one, just like I said this morning, that the indictment of Paul Manafort, although it's significant, Manafort's indictment did not specifically tell us anything or prove anything about did the Trump campaign itself collude with Russia. And I think it's getting a little ridiculous online. I think people's definitions of collusion have kind of gotten a little nuts, if you ask me. But, so we don't have evidence of that yet in terms of Paul Manafort. His indictment is about money laundering and tax evasion dating back to 2006 all the way to 2016. Now, they might be indicting Paul Manafort first on money laundering and tax evasion to bring him in and hopefully get him to flip on other Trump campaign officials. So they might be bringing in Manafort because they don't have enough on the Trump campaign and collusion, but they are bringing him in to see if he will give up basically other people in the Trump campaign in exchange for some type of immunity or shortened sentence. This is very common in a lot of criminal prosecutions. You try to bring in a bigger fish first who you don't have enough, but might, you try to bring in someone that you don't have enough, but you could get them on something and maybe they will give up other bigger fish down the road. That's what I think they're doing on Manafort, because you would think if they had something tangible about Manafort, the Trump campaign, and actual collusion, in my view, that would mean collusion where the Trump campaign worked with the Russian government or WikiLeaks to, distribute Hillary Clinton's emails or other things. They don't seem to have that yet, but in terms of Manafort, they can throw additional charges later. So just because they only charged him with money laundering and tax evasion now doesn't mean additional charges can't come later. The statute of limitations on Manafort was about to expire. MSNBC reported this morning. In terms of the Podestra Group, now, again, I'm going to have the same standard for the Podestra Group. I know a lot of you don't like Hillary Clinton. I'm not a fan either. But just because Tony Podesta stepped down does not prove, capital P, prove that Tony Podesta and his brother John Podesta, who was the campaign chairman of Hillary Clinton, were working together in some sinister plot to make money, and that Hillary Clinton and her campaign were in some ways colluding with the Russian government. I'm not going to just tell you what you want to hear just because you don't like Hillary Clinton. I don't agree with Hillary Clinton. I don't agree with her policies. I think she's done a lot of terrible things, actually. But we have to have the same standard for everybody. So Tony Podesta stepping down, I believe he is stepping down. Like he said, he knows that an indictment is probably coming for him, and he's trying to shield the Podesta Group, the company that he founded. So you would think if he knows or has strong suspicion that an indictment is coming for himself, that he's trying to shield his company. It's about the money, baby. It's about the money. So why would he step down otherwise if he has nothing to hide? He hasn't done anything wrong. So as I told you, Paul Manafort is the one that orchestrated the deal for the for the Podesta Group to lobby on behalf of this European Center for a Modern Ukraine. The Podesta Group says they thought that was a European think tank. Literally, the European Center for a Modern Ukraine. They thought that was a European think tank. Anyway, but the Podesta Group basically lobbied for a Ukrainian political party that Manafort advised. So there's a lot of things that don't smell right here, but I want to be clear. Just because I might not like Hillary Clinton or you don't like Hillary Clinton, we have to go based on facts and we have to go based on evidence. The Podesta Group lobbied TYT? No, they didn't. It's so funny seeing the conspiracy theories on YouTube and Facebook. It's crazy. But just like I said with the Trump campaign, I go where proof is, I go where evidence is. At this point, we don't have firm evidence in Manafort's indictment that there was collusion. The actual indictment doesn't even mention Trump or Trump campaign. So MSNBC, others might blow it up into the sky and blow it out of proportion because it gives them great ratings and they're trying to resurrect the Cold War at, I think, a danger to the United States. But there's no evidence yet for Manafort. And for Podesta, him stepping down, I think is significant. I don't think it's a coincidence he's stepping down on the same day Paul Manafort was indicted. It might indicate that he is already aware and has already been advised that he will be indicted, and that's why he's stepping down now. I think the language that he said he needs to, quote, fight this as an individual but doesn't want the firm to fight it is significant. He's basically trying to shield his firm, the Podestra Group, from prosecution if Mueller is going to prosecute him. However, I'm not going to go as far to say this proves that John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, was in somehow cahoots with his brother's lobbying firm to, money launder or do anything untoward. We don't have proof of that yet. We cannot make statements based on what we want to be the evidence. We need to make statements based on what is in front of us now. Sorry, you might not like that, but that's how I operate. So, but it is significant that Tony Podesta is stepping down. And let me just tell you, Tony Podesta, Robert Mueller, and NBC News. This was a story from a few weeks ago that shows you that Mueller has been investigating Tony Podesta and the Podestra Group. So Tony Podesta and the Podestra Group are now subjects of a federal investigation being led by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. The probe of Podesta and his Democratic leading lobbying firm grew out of Mueller's inquiry into the finances of former Trump Chairman Paul Manafort, according to the sources. Special Counsel Mueller has been tasked with investigating possible collusion. Manafort has organized a public relations campaign for a nonprofit called the European Center for a Modern Ukraine. Podesta's company was one of the many firms that worked on the campaign, which promoted Ukraine's image in the West. The sources said the investigation into Podesta and his company began as more of a fact-finding mission about the ECMU and Manafort's role in the campaign, but now has morphed into a criminal inquiry into whether the firm violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So that is pretty much what they would get Podesta on, if they're going to get him on anything, that Podesta and his firm violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act. You're supposed to register if you are lobbying or doing work for a foreign government, which they didn't seem to do. Under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, people who lobby on behalf of foreign governments, leaders, or political parties must file detailed disclosures about their spending activities and activities with the Justice Department. So what I think is interesting here, just to tell you what the politics are going to be, I think Trump and Fox News and all the right wing are basically going to try and say nothing to see here with Manafort, and go full tilt on the Podesta Group and call this a giant scandal and Hillary Clinton needs to be prosecuted and all those things. I'm telling you that's what I think they're going to do to try and take the focus off of Manafort. Like I said, at the moment, I don't see proof as far as Manafort, that brings us to like ironclad smoking gun collusion, and I also don't see proof that John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, was somehow in cahoots with his brother and their firm to money launder or do untoward things working on behalf of Ukraine. We need proof. If you haven't learned from the lessons of the past, the Iraq War, you haven't learned from Libya, you haven't learned from the CIA lying about drones and everything else, we have to have proof. And by the way, there's no proof that's been shown that WikiLeaks' source was the Russian government. Rachel Maddow likes to state this as if it's fact, but it's not fact. It's not proven. WikiLeaks has denied it, and they have not been able to show any proof. So, the Young Turks might disagree with my assessment. I know Cenk might disagree with my assessment, but I'm here to report what's going on and tell you what I think. What I think is Tony Podesta didn't step down for the Podesta Group because he doesn't think he's being indicted. He probably does think he's being indicted, or he's already been told he's being indicted, and he wants to try and shield his company. That's why I think he's stepping down. So, if you're a Hillbot and you want to call me a Trump supporter, that's fine. If you're totally hardcore, like Clinton needs to go to jail, and you want to say I'm being naive, that's fine. I'm always going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to just tell you what you want to hear.